Welcome back. Today we're going deep on something I think we all struggle with sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Human motivation.
It's a big one.
Like, what really makes us tick?
Okay.
What makes us want to do anything, really?
Right.
Whether that's, climb a mountain or write a symphony or just, get out of bed in the morning.
Yeah, get out of bed some days.
Yeah, exactly.
It's tough.
So today we're going to try to unpack that a little bit.
Cool.
And we're going to be using Daniel Pink's book Drive as our guide for this deep dive.
Awesome.
Have you read Drive?
I have, yeah. It's a fascinating book.
It's really good.
So many good ideas in there.
Yeah. So Pink basically argues that our traditional carrot and stick approach to motivation, like, rewards and punishments, can actually backfire.
Totally. Especially in today's world.
Yeah, it's like we've been doing it wrong all along.
Yeah, kind of.
So like one of the examples he uses is open source software.
Oh, yeah.
Where people create incredibly complex and valuable programs completely for free.
Right, like Linux or Wikipedia.
Exactly, without any of the traditional incentives.
It's amazing when you think about it.
It really is. It's like people are motivated by something else entirely.
Yeah, for sure.
So if it's not about the carrots and sticks, then what is it about?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Right.
Well, Pink dives into what he calls the Sawyer effect.
Okay.
And he uses that classic story of Tom Sawyer convincing his friends that whitewashing a fence is like the best thing ever.
Oh, yeah. I remember that story.
It's such a good illustration of how rewards can actually backfire.
How so?
Well, by turning the chore into a privilege,
Right.
Sawyer actually made it more desirable.
So it's like by taking away the external reward, he actually increased their intrinsic motivation.
Exactly. It's kind of counterintuitive.
It is, but it makes sense when you think about it.
Yeah.
Like, it's about autonomy and choice.
For sure.
If you feel like you're being forced to do something,
Right.
you're less likely to enjoy it.
Exactly.
But if you feel like you're choosing to do it,
Yeah.
even if it's the same activity, you're more likely to find it enjoyable.
Absolutely.
So Pink backs this up with some research, too.
Oh, yeah. He talks about that experiment with the Soma Cube.
Yeah, the 3D puzzle.
Right.
So what happened there?
Well, the participants who were paid to play with the puzzle actually played with it less
Really?
when the reward was removed
That's so interesting.
compared to those who were never paid at all.
That's wild. I would have thought the opposite.
I know, right? You'd think that if you get paid to do something, you'd be more likely to do it.
Right.
But it seems like the reward actually kind of killed their intrinsic motivation.
Like it shifted their focus from the enjoyment of the activity to the external reward. And when the reward was gone, their motivation went with it.
Exactly.
So how does this apply to, like, the real world?
Right.
I mean, rewards are everywhere.
They are.
Grades and school bonuses at work, even just getting a like on social media.
It's true.
So are you saying that all rewards are bad?
Well, not necessarily.
Okay.
It's more nuanced than that.
Okay.
Pink outlines 7 ways that carrots and sticks can actually backfire.
Okay.
He calls them the 7 deadly flaws.
7. Oh, okay. I'm intrigued.
Let's hear it.
All right. So the first flaw is that rewards can extinguish intrinsic motivation.
Okay, that makes sense. We kind of already talked about that with the Soma Cube experiment.
Yeah, exactly. But he illustrates this with another study
Okay.
in Sweden, where they offered people money to donate blood.
Okay.
And, you'd think that would increase donations.
Right, pay people to do it.
Exactly. But actually,
Yeah.
it had the opposite effect.
Really?
Fewer people donated when money was offered.
That's so wild. It seems like common sense that paying people would lead to more donations.
It does, right.
What happened?
Well, it turns out that people are often driven by a deeper sense of purpose.
Okay.
They want to contribute to something meaningful.
Right.
And in this case, the financial incentive actually undermined their altruistic motives.
It's like it cheapened the act in a way. Yeah. Exactly. It made it feel more like a transaction than a gift.
So the reward actually crowded out their inherent desire to help.
Precisely.
Wow. This is really making me rethink how we approach motivation.
It's powerful stuff.
Okay, so what's another flaw we should be aware of?
The second flaw is that rewards can actually diminish performance.
Really?
Yeah. So remember we were talking about the Soma Cube experiment?
Yeah.
Well, other studies have shown that larger rewards can actually worsen performance on tasks that require creativity or complex problem solving.
So it's not always the bigger the carrot, the better the results?
Nope, not at all. Sometimes it's the opposite.
Interesting. So are there any, real-world examples of this?
Oh, yeah. There's a classic experiment called the candle problem,
Okay.
where people offered a cash reward actually took longer to solve a simple puzzle.
Really?
Yeah, it seems like the pressure of the reward actually made them less effective.
That's so counterintuitive.
It is.
Yeah.
But it shows that rewards can sometimes have unintended consequences.
Okay. I'm starting to see how this carrot and stick approach can be problematic. What else should we be watching out for?
Well, the third flaw is that rewards can actually stifle creativity.
Okay.
Pink talks about a study comparing commissioned and non-commissioned artwork.
Okay.
And the non-commissioned pieces were consistently judged as more creative.
So the artists who weren't being paid to create something specific actually came up with more creative work.
Exactly. It's like when you're too focused on the outcome or pleasing a client, it can limit your ability to think outside the box.
This makes me think of musicians who say that writing jingles for commercials can really drain their creative energy.
Yeah, that's a great example.
Okay.
Even though it pays well, it can feel creatively stifling.
So it's like the extrinsic reward can actually put a damper on our internal creative spark?
Exactly.
Okay, I'm ready for flaw number 4. Hit me with it.
All right, so this one's interesting. Rewards can actually crowd out good behavior.
How so?
Pink talks about a study done at a daycare center where they started finding parents for picking their kids up late.
I'm guessing that didn't work out so well.
You got it. Late pickups actually increased after the fines were introduced.
Wow, seriously?
Yep.
That's so counterintuitive. Why would that happen?
It seems like the fines actually shifted the parents' perception of the situation.
Okay.
Instead of feeling a moral obligation to be on time,
Right.
they saw it as a simple transaction,
Oh, I see.
like they were paying for the right to be late.
So the fines actually undermined their sense of responsibility.
Precisely.
That's fascinating. Okay, I'm ready for flaw number 5. What is it?
This one's a big one. Carrots and sticks can actually encourage cheating shortcuts and unethical behavior.
Oh.
We see this all the time in the real world,
Oh, yeah.
from corporate scandals to academic cheating.
Right. It's like the pressure to win at all costs can make people do some pretty shady things.
It's true. When the focus is solely on achieving a specific outcome, the means to get there become less important.
It's a slippery slope for sure. All right, we're up to flaw number 6. What's next?
Rewards can actually become addictive.
Addictive?
Yeah. You know how our brains release dopamine when we experience something pleasurable?
Yeah.
Well, it turns out that anticipating a reward can trigger that same dopamine rush.
So it's like we get hooked on the feeling of being rewarded.
Exactly. And this can create a cycle where we need ever-increasing rewards to achieve the same level of motivation.
That makes sense. I can definitely relate to that.
Right. We all can.
Okay, so what's the final flaw?
This one's particularly relevant in today's fast-paced world. Carrots and sticks can foster short-term thinking.
Okay.
When we're constantly focused on immediate rewards, we tend to neglect long-term goals and sustainable success.
It's like that saying, they can't see the forest for the trees.
Exactly. They're so caught up in the immediate details that they miss the bigger picture.
So are you saying that we should just abandon rewards altogether?
Well, it's not that simple.
Okay.
I think it's more about being mindful of how we use them and recognizing that they're not always the best tool for the job.
Right.
Sometimes they can actually do more harm than good.
I'm starting to see that. So if the traditional carrot and stick approach isn't the answer, then what is?
Well, that's where Pink introduces the concept of type I and type X behavior.
Ooh. Okay. This is where things get interesting. But we'll have to save that for next time.
Sounds good.
We'll be back after a quick break. Okay, so we're back.
Back at it?
And ready to dive into type I and type X behavior.
Aye. Let's do it.
This is the stuff that I think can really help us all rethink how we approach motivation.
Totally.
So let's start with the basics.
Sure.
What exactly are type I and type X behavior?
Okay, so Pink basically says that people who are driven by intrinsic motivation, those who find joy and satisfaction in the activity itself,
okay,
they fall into the type I category.
So they're not doing it for the external rewards or recognition.
Right.
They're doing it because they genuinely enjoy it.
Exactly. It's like that pure love of the game.
I love that. Okay, so give me some examples of type I behavior.
Okay, so think of artists who spend hours perfecting their craft, or volunteers who dedicate their time to helping others.
Right.
They're not doing it for the money or the fame.
Yeah.
They're driven by a deep internal desire to create, to contribute, or simply to engage in something meaningful.
So it's like that internal drive that keeps them going.
Exactly. It's that fire of the belly.
Okay, that makes sense. So then what's type X behavior all about?
So type X individuals are primarily motivated by external factors,
Okay.
like rewards recognition or even the fear of punishment.
So it's more about the carrot and stick approach that we were talking about earlier.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It's about those external motivators.
So are you saying that people are either type I or type X?
Well, that's where it gets interesting.
Okay.
Pink argues that anyone can shift from type X to type I.
Wait, really?
Yeah. With the right environment and mindset, anyone can tap into their intrinsic motivation.
You mean we're not just stuck in one category or the other?
Nope, not at all. It's more fluid than that.
That's pretty amazing. So how do we make that shift then?
Well, Pink highlights several companies that have successfully embraced this type I approach.
Oh, yeah. I'd love to hear about that. Give me some examples.
Okay, so one company that he talks about is Atlassian.
Atlassian.
Yeah, they're a software company that implemented a ROWE.
A ROWE? What's that?
It stands for Results-Only Work Environment.
Okay, so what does that actually look like in practice?
Essentially, it means employees have complete autonomy over their schedule and how they work.
Wow.
No set hours, no mandatory face time in the office.
So it's all about trust.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They trust their employees to manage their own time and workload.
And it works.
It does. They've seen significant increases in productivity and employee satisfaction.
That's awesome. I can imagine people are way happier and more engaged when they feel trusted and empowered.
Absolutely.
Okay, so Atlassian is doing some cool stuff. What other companies are out there rocking the type I approach?
Well, Pink also discusses Google's famous 20% time policy.
Oh yeah, I've heard about that. Didn't some of Google's most innovative products come out of that?
Yet at Gmail, Google News. Those are both born out of 20% time.
That's incredible. So basically they're giving their employees free time to work on whatever they want.
Yeah, essentially 20% of their time can be dedicated to projects they're passionate about.
And that's led to some groundbreaking innovations.
Absolutely. It's a testament to the power of autonomy and intrinsic motivation.
It makes you wonder why more companies aren't doing this.
I know, right? It seems like a no-brainer.
So why aren't they?
Well, it's not always easy.
Okay.
It requires a big shift in mindset for both managers and employees.
Right. It's about letting go of control and embracing a more autonomous work style.
Exactly. And that can be challenging for a lot of organizations.
I can see that. But the potential benefits seem huge.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay, so autonomy is obviously a key element of type I behavior.
Definitely.
But you mentioned mastery and purpose earlier.
Right. Those are the other two pillars of type I behavior.
Okay, so let's talk about mastery. What is that all about?
Mastery is all about that desire to get better and better at something that matters to you.
Okay.
It's about pushing yourself to improve, to learn new skills, and to reach your full potential.
It makes me think of those athletes or musicians who dedicate years of their lives to honing their craft.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
They're not doing it for the fame or the fortune.
Right.
They're doing it for the sheer joy of mastering their chosen skill.
I love that. So it's like that pursuit of excellence.
It is. And you know what's really cool?
What?
Pink connects mastery to the concept of flow.
Oh, yeah. Flow states.
Exactly. Those moments when you're completely absorbed in an activity and lose track of time.
I've definitely experienced those, and they're amazing.
They are. It's like everything just clicks and you're completely in the zone.
Totally.
Right.
So is Pink saying that mastery is all about achieving flow states?
Well, not exactly.
Okay.
He's saying that flow is a key ingredient in mastery.
Okay.
And that when we're engaged in activities that challenge us and allow us to grow, we're more likely to experience these flow states.
That makes sense. It's like that saying, find a job you love and you'll never work a day in your life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When you're in flow, work doesn't feel like work anymore.
Right. It's energizing and fulfilling.
Absolutely. And Pink gives some inspiring examples of companies that foster mastery in their employees.
Oh, yeah. Like who?
Well, he mentions Green Cargo.
Green Cargo?
Yeah, they're a Swedish railway company.
Okay.
And they really prioritize employee training and development.
So they're investing in their employees' growth.
Exactly. They're giving them the resources they need to become experts in their fields.
I like that. What other companies are doing cool things with mastery?
Another great example is that game company.
Okay.
They're a video game developer.
Okay.
And they really encourage their designers to experiment, to take risks, and to push the boundaries of creativity.
So it's about creating a culture where people feel safe to try new things and learn from their mistakes.
Precisely.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so Pink talks about these companies that are doing great things with mastery.
Right. But what about the rest of us? How do we actually cultivate mastery in our own lives?
Well, Pink highlights 3 key principles of mastery that are really important to understand.
Okay, I'm ready. Hit me with these principles.
Okay, so the first principle is that mastery is a mindset.
A mindset.
Yeah. It's about believing that your abilities aren't fixed,
Okay.
but can be developed through effort and practice.
So it's about having a growth mindset.
Exactly, like Carol Dweck talks about.
Yeah, believing that you can always learn and improve.
Right.
Okay, what's the second principle?
The second principle is that mastery is a pain.
A pain.
Yeah, it takes effort, grit, and dedication. There are no shortcuts to true mastery.
It makes me think of those stories about Olympic athletes who train for hours every day, pushing themselves to their limits.
Exactly. Or musicians who practice until their fingers bleed.
Right. Mastery isn't always glamorous or easy. It requires real dedication and sacrifice.
You got it.
Okay, so mastery is a mindset and it's a pain. What's the third principle?
The third principle is that mastery is an asymptote. An asymptote. Okay, you're going to have to remind me what that means.
Yeah, so an asymptote is a line that a curve approaches but never actually reaches.
Oh, right. I remember that from math class.
So what does that mean for mastery?
So it means that true mastery is something we constantly strive for, but we never fully achieve it.
Exactly. It's a lifelong journey of learning growth and continual improvement.
I like that. It's kind of a humbling thought.
It is. There's always more to learn, more to explore, and more ways to refine your craft.
This reminds me of the artist Paul Cézanne, who was constantly experimenting and refining his technique throughout his career.
Yeah, that's a great example. He never stopped learning or pushing himself to grow as an artist.
So mastery is a journey, not a destination.
Exactly. And this pursuit of mastery ties beautifully into Pink's discussion of purpose.
Right. We haven't even gotten to purpose yet.
I know, right? There's so much to unpack here.
So how does Pink define purpose in the context of type I behavior?
He describes it as a deep yearning to be part of something larger than ourselves, to contribute to a cause that's greater than our own individual needs and desires.
So it's that feeling of making a difference, of having a positive impact on the world.
Exactly. And he argues that this desire for purpose is becoming increasingly important.
I can definitely see that. It's not just about earning a paycheck anymore.
Right. It's about finding a sense of meaning and fulfillment in your work.
Okay, so we've got autonomy, mastery, and purpose.
The three pillars of type I behavior.
But how do we actually cultivate these things in our own lives and work?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is. How do we shift from that carrot and stick mentality to a more intrinsically motivated approach?
Well, luckily, Pink offers some practical guidance in his book.
Okay, good. Because I was going to say, we can't just leave people hanging with these lofty concepts.
Right. He gives us concrete steps we can take to start making this shift.
Okay, so give us the goods. What can we do right now to start cultivating more type I behavior?
Well, let's start with autonomy.
Okay.
Think about areas in your work or life where you can introduce more freedom and choice.
So it might be about taking ownership of a project.
Yeah.
Experimenting with a new approach. Or even just rearranging your work schedule to better suit your energy levels.
Exactly. Small changes can make a big difference.
It's about finding ways to empower yourself and take control of your own experience.
Absolutely.
What about mastery? How can we foster that sense of continuous growth and improvement?
Well, start by identifying activities that truly engage you.
Okay.
Things that challenge you and spark your curiosity.
So what am I naturally drawn to?
Yeah, exactly. What do you find yourself losing track of time doing?
Okay, so pay attention to those moments of flow.
Right. And remember, mastery is a journey, not a destination.
Right.
It's about embracing the process of learning, experimenting, and pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone.
Don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Exactly. That's where the real learning happens.
This is really inspiring. I'm starting to see how we can shift our focus from external rewards to those internal drivers of motivation.
It's a powerful shift.
Now, what about purpose? How can we tap into that deeper sense of meaning and make a difference in the world?
Well, for some people, purpose is closely tied to their work. They find fulfillment in contributing to a company or organization that aligns with their values.
Right. It's about finding work that feels meaningful.
Yeah.
And makes a positive impact.
Exactly. But purpose doesn't have to be limited to your job.
Okay.
It can also be expressed through your hobbies, volunteer work,
right,
or even just the way you interact with the people in your life.
So it's about identifying what matters to you
Yeah.
and finding ways to make a positive contribution no matter how small.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We
We've
have.
explored the flaws of the carrot and stick approach,
Right.
delved into the key elements of type I behavior,
Mm-hmm.
and even gotten some practical tips for cultivating more intrinsic motivation.
It's been a good deep dive.
It really has.
Yeah.
So what's the main takeaway, the big aha moment you want listeners to walk away with?
I think the biggest takeaway is this. The traditional carrot and stick approach to motivation,
Yeah.
while deeply ingrained in our culture, is often ineffective and can even be counterproductive.
It's time to rethink our assumptions.
Exactly. It's time to embrace a more human-centered approach
Okay.
that recognizes the power of autonomy, mastery, and purpose.
I love that. It's about moving beyond those external motivators
Yeah,
and tapping into our innate drive to learn, grow, and contribute.
absolutely.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. I'm already feeling inspired to make some changes in my own life and work. What about you? What's resonating with you the most from our discussion today?
I'm really struck by the power of autonomy.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much more engaged and productive people can be when they're given the freedom to manage their own time and make their own decisions.
That's a great point. Autonomy really seems to be a key ingredient in unlocking intrinsic motivation.
For sure.
But we've only scratched the surface here.
Totally.
There's so much more to explore and learn about this fascinating topic.
Absolutely. And Pink's book drive is a great place to start.
You know what? I think it's time to give our listeners a little homework assignment.
Okay, I like it.
Go pick up a copy of Drive and see for yourself how these ideas can transform your life and work. You won't regret it.
It's a game changer for sure.
Okay, so we spent the last two parts talking about the limitations of carrots and sticks
Right, all those deadly flaws.
and how we can start to move towards more type I behavior.
With more autonomy, mastery, and purpose.
Exactly. But I'm sure some of our listeners are thinking,
Yeah.
okay, this is all great in theory, but how do I actually put this into practice?
Right. How do I actually change my approach to motivation?
Especially when it comes to things like rewards.
Yeah, we're so conditioned to think in terms of if-then rewards.
Right, like if you do this, then you'll get that.
Exactly. But Pink suggests a different approach.
Okay, I'm all ears.
He talks about now that reward.
Now that reward. Okay, I've never heard that before.
So instead of offering rewards as contingencies, you frame them as acknowledgments of achievement.
So instead of saying, if you finish this project by Friday, you'll get a bonus,
Right.
you'd say something like, now that you've successfully completed this challenging project, we want to acknowledge your hard work and dedication.
Exactly. It's a subtle shift,
Yeah.
but it makes a big difference.
It really does. It takes the focus off the external reward and puts it on the intrinsic satisfaction of accomplishment.
Right. It's about celebrating the achievement itself.
I like that. So what else can we do to cultivate more type I behavior?
Well, Pink also emphasizes the importance of providing praise, feedback, and information.
Instead of just dangling carrots.
Exactly. It's about fueling that intrinsic motivation by recognizing effort and progress.
Not just the end result.
Precisely.
And what about autonomy?
Well, think about ways to give yourself more freedom and choice, even in small ways.
So little things like rearranging my schedule
Yeah.
or trying a new approach to a task.
Exactly. It's about taking ownership of your work and finding ways to make it more enjoyable.
And maybe even decluttering my workspace.
Oh, yeah, that can make a huge difference.
It's about creating an environment that feels more conducive to focus and flow.
Absolutely.
Now, what about mastery?
Well, think about what skills or knowledge you'd love to develop further.
Okay.
Is there an online course you've been wanting to take?
Or a book I've been meaning to read.
Exactly. Or maybe you want to learn a new language or instrument.
Right. It doesn't have to be something big and fancy.
Nope.
No.
Just something that sparks your interest and challenges you.
So it's really about making time for those things that bring us joy and help us grow.
Absolutely. Remember, mastery is a journey, not a destination.
And it's never too late to start.
That's right.
Okay, so we've talked about autonomy and mastery. What about purpose? How do we find that deeper sense of meaning?
We'll start by reflecting on what truly matters to you.
What are my values?
Yeah. What kind of impact do you want to make on the world?
It might be helpful to write down my thoughts or create a vision board.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
It can help you visualize your goals and stay focused on what's important.
Once I have a clear sense of my purpose,
Right.
how do I actually live it?
We'll look for ways to align your actions with your values.
Okay.
That could be through your work, your hobbies, your relationships.
Or even just small acts of kindness.
Absolutely. Every little bit counts.
This has been such a fascinating deep dive into the science of motivation.
It really has.
I feel like we've uncovered some real gems.
Me too.
So as we wrap up this episode, what are some final thoughts you'd like to leave our listeners with?
I think the most important thing to remember is that motivation isn't something that just happens to us.
Okay.
It's something we can cultivate and nurture.
So we have the power to change.
We do. By understanding the principles of type I behavior and putting them into practice,
Yeah.
we can unlock a whole new level of engagement, creativity, and fulfillment in our lives.
Beautifully said. So to our listeners out there,
Yeah.
we encourage you to keep exploring these ideas. Rethink your assumptions about motivation.
Right.
Embrace your innate drive.
Yeah.
And see what amazing things you can achieve.
It's an exciting journey.
It really is. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into human motivation.
See you next time.